Inclusivity, a case study from Strike and Soltis. Mr. Dmitry Karpov was visited by Sean and Juana, who were representing Hanover High's local LGBTQ+ club. They wanted to make an announcement about bullying and ending the mistreatment of LGBTQ+ students in the school. They would wear buttons reading "End the Bullying." They were well prepared and asked to present this topic for 5 minutes during his class. Mr. Karpov recognized that they were a part of a legitimate group alongside Young Republicans, Young Democrats, and the Christian Club. They had an appropriate message due to the school's history of bullying LGBTQ+ students, and they were open-minded regarding classroom dynamics. As the civics teacher, he saw no fault in allowing them to deliver this message about bullying. In fact, he made a policy in his class that said students who belonged to advocacy clubs could make an occasional special announcement so long as they only gave one per week. Mr. Karpov quickly regretted his new policy, however, as 3 students in the back of his class wore sweatshirts with distinctly homophobic messages, such as "God condemns homosexuality," "Gays can be cured," and "free speech for Christians." Mr. Karpov ignored them to the distress of his students. When Sean and Juana saw the sweatshirts, they were greatly disheartened and disappointed that Mr. Karpov did not remove them immediately. They were on the brink of tears when he finally took action. Realizing his mistake, he decided it wasn't fair to subject his students to blatant harassment. He took the 3 students into the hall and asked them to remove the sweatshirts. They refused. One of the students, Peter DaCosta, said they would take advantage of Mr. Karpov's new policy and that the Christian Club would prepare a presentation entitled "The Christian View of Homosexuality" next class. Mr. Karpov knew there was great division between the LGBTQ+ and religious communities and doubted their intentions would be just. Not wanting to start a debate in the matter, he brought them to the principal's office, Miss Fletcher. She was clearly not impressed having to deal with this situation. Still, she backed up Mr. Karpov and asked the students to remove their sweatshirts. Again, they refused and requested to speak in Mr. Karpov's next class. Miss Fletcher told them they had to go to study hall until they were ready to remove the sweatshirts. They spent the rest of the day there. The following day, Mr. Karpov was called into Miss Fletcher's office. The 3 students were there with the offending sweatshirts and were accompanied by 2 of their parents and an attorney, Mr. Wong, who was representing the Citizens of Free Speech movement. Mr. Wong laid out his case. This issue, Mr. Karpov and Miss Fletcher, is a free speech issue. You have offered classroom time to permit an advocacy group to present its views. You must offer time to those with other views. Moreover, the fact that their views are rooted in religion makes no difference. Religious ideas are still ideas. You cannot give a forum to those who wish to advocate the homosexual agenda and whose ideas are opposed to the Judeo-Christian tradition and not permit religious people to rebut them. The law is quite clear on these matters. Mr. Karpov had no interest in creating heated debates within his classroom, but he did wish to have an inclusive classroom. He knew that LGBTQ+ students were often silenced, intimidated, and bullied in the school. He wanted to ask the attorney what Christian teachings justified bullying. Furthermore, he was not seeking to advocate a homosexual agenda, merely to invite his students to discuss the issues surrounding bullying in the classroom. He felt that ending bullying was a central part of inclusivity. Debating a homosexual agenda which he was sure wasn't present in the first place, was hardly appropriate. He was about to tell the attorney all of this when Miss Fletcher stepped in, saying, "I doubt the law is as clear as you suggest, Mr. Wong. Before we continue this conversation, I will have to consult the school district's attorney." She promptly gave Mr. Karpov a look that said, "Please shut up," as loudly as she could without speaking. He did not speak up. Still, a thought occurred to him. If the school is trying to be inclusive by protecting the rights of LGBTQ+ students, can it also find a way to include students whose religious convictions are opposed to homosexuality?
Created using Powtoon.